Welcome to Logistics Business Conversations, where we talk with key spokespeople in the logistics industry about topical issues. Hosted by Peter MacLeod, editor of Logistics Business magazine.
Welcome to a very special edition of Logistics Business Conversations, recorded in person at the Logistics Business podcast studio. I'm joined today by Martin McVicar, founder of Combilift. Hi, Martin. Welcome to Logistics Business Conversations.
Good afternoon, Peter. Thank you for having me here.
It's great to talk to you again. Martin, you've featured in our magazine over the years, and when we were chatting before this recording, we were saying the conversations we have can't always reflect all the colour in your stories by the time it reaches the page. So hopefully during this conversation, we'll redress all of that. Now, 2025, Combilift's reaching a very significant milestone. We're talking about the 1,000th truck produced. As we speak here at the beginning of December, you've got quite an exciting promotion going on.
Yeah, well, for Combilift, myself and Robert Moffat, we set up the business. In fact, we're not a startup any longer. We're 27 years in business now. But our manufacturing philosophy over the years, we don't manufacture regular forklift trucks. We're continuing to invest in developing new products, solution products. We start off with multi-directional forklifts, then we moved into the warehousing articulated forklift trucks, pedestrian, and then even our straddle carriers for bigger products. But in terms of that niche market that as a business we focus on, we've actually produced our 100,000th vehicle. And over the last few months, what we've done is with this 100,000th piece of equipment, it's gold in colour, but we didn't build it for any client. We've actually built it with the anticipation that we've actually put it up for raffle. And all the proceeds from this raffle is going directly to UNICEF, a very worthwhile charity. And I suppose it's a significant milestone for Combilift that we've reached 100,000th unit, but we really are using this opportunity to really get as many funds together for a great benefit that UNICEF is doing worldwide. And I suppose for us, this 100,000 vehicles of interest to our existing customers, to our dealer network, and to the general public, because for us, the 100,000 Combilift is a very valuable piece of equipment. So even if you've no need for a forklift truck, we will definitely put you in touch with someone that will need it. And if not, Combilift is even more than willing to pay cash to buy it back, because we will definitely find another customer for this 100,000th vehicle.
Well, I have to say, I stood next to it at IMHX in September, and it looked magnificent in its bright, shiny gold. I think my wife might have a word with me if I ended up winning it. I personally think it would look fabulous in the front room, but she may have another view on that. So if you're interested in buying a ticket, you can visit the Combilift special website for this. It's combilift.com/win-a-truck. combilift.com/win-a-truck. I guess, Martin, you buy a ticket and you're in with
a chance to the draw. There's opportunity. The ticket is going at £100 per ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And there's multiple ticket benefits, with discounts. But, we'd like to encourage as many people as possible. It's a really worthwhile cause. And this raffle, like for us, the UK has been our home market. So it's great to have the opportunity to even speak firsthand here on your show here regarding this opportunity here. And the closing date is going to be the 15th of December. So please, at least, hopefully, if you're interested, get into the draw in the next couple of weeks. So,
might even make a nice Christmas present for someone. So, Martin, we've spoken a lot over the years, and I've always been attracted to your story, the backstory in particular, the establishment of Combilift and its development and growth. It's been fascinating, and it's been wonderful to perceive. Tell me about sort of the origin story, if you can, and just some of the stories that were around at the time when you were building this business within this niche area.
Yes, I suppose for my background prior to Combilift, I used to work for Moffat Engineering that manufactures the red forklifts you see on the back of delivery vehicles. So my background is engineering. I left school at the age of 17. And I took up a summer job in Moffat Engineering. That summer job became a 9-year career. That business then was sold to a public company. And when that business was sold, one of the founders of the Moffat business, Robert Moffat, and myself joined to form Combilift in 1998. And the core of our business has been to develop forklift trucks that are solution focused. And the first model that we brought to market is the Combilift multi-directional unit, which has been world dominating in that we've developed this multi-directional vehicle that can handle long loads in confined spaces more safely than what existed before. And the Combilift brand has really become so known in that industry. But I suppose for us it has been through customer feedback has brought us into other market segments. And, then, a number of years later, 15 years plus, we actually got into the warehousing market with the Aisle-Master articulated brand. And for us, it's developing products to save warehouse space. And that's really what's unique about any articulated forklift truck, but particularly the Aisle-Master. We invest 7% of our revenue goes into R&D. So we're bringing very narrow aisle equipment to market. And for us, that R&D, we have a number of patents, so it allows the customers to maximise their warehouse space. But if you're on in terms of some of the colour of the business from the early stage, like any startup business, it wasn't all plain sailing. It's a tough grind. And we often say it's not a 9-to-5 job. And I remember when myself and Robert set up Combilift in March 1998, we actually, in 1998, we actually had produced 18 vehicles in total, of which 17 were exported off the island of Ireland, and that included the UK. But our first export market was actually Norway. And I remember in August 98, I remember saying to my girlfriend, Pauline, at the time, let's plan a week's holiday in Norway in August 1998. Pauline, who's now my wife, but at that particular time, our first 3 Combilifts were built for the Norwegian market. So when we went to Norway, one of my tasks was to deliver 2 of these 3 vehicles to customers in Norway. So I was travelling around Norway, which is great scenery, as you probably know if you've already been there, with fjords, etc. But for me, it was delivering the units firsthand to our customers. And I remember even while we were there, before we were ready to head home, we get a phone call from one of our first customers that there was a problem with one of the vehicles. And I said to my girlfriend at the time, we need to go and get this fixed. So it was going back to the first customer, doing a small repair before we flew home. And Pauline said, well, that's the last time I'm going to Norway with you. And she hasn't went back since. Yeah. But we've made many other trips to other countries since that. So.
Who says romance is dead, yeah. Martin? And those original Combilifts?
Yeah, in fact, I could even name them first customers. One of them is Simon Nodovic. And in terms of that first unit, they are still a Combilift customer today. I don't believe they're using that exact truck now today, that one customer. But most of our customers that bought early units 25 years are still running them today. And in fact, the very first unit we produced is in operation in Monaghan, quite close to our own factory, a company called J.G. Kelly Supply. And that unit still runs every day. And I know some of our people say, why don't we take that and put it back in our showroom? But I still personally think a working model is better proof of longevity and in terms of investment for our customers.
I mean, goodness me, here we are now, 100,000 vehicles later. You could never have imagined it would have become this, could you?
Well, I think it's like every startup business. You know what? You never can see it exactly. One of my milestones as a business owner, and I remember having the discussion with Robert, like as a milestone, I wanted to always ensure that we could set up a business and grow it to a bigger business than the Moffat business, because that was all I knew at the time. I knew the Moffat truck-mounted forklift. And thank God, the Combilift business, we've grown that. We're now a revenue over €500 million. We employ 1,000 people worldwide. And we have a team on the ground here in the UK of more than 45 people on the ground supporting our dealer network and customers here on the ground, both with after sales and technical support, because it doesn't matter how good a widget you manufacture, that support on the ground is critical to our customers, because when someone invests in a piece of Combilift product or Aisle-Master, it's really part of their infrastructure. They've invested in a piece of product that enables them to save space. They've designed their warehouse around it. So it's a critical part. And for us, we're here on the ground to support to make that happen.
So another little bit of colour in the backstory. You had an event where you had press from around the world invited into Monaghan to your premises there. There was a little matter of a volcano erupting.
That was 2010, I think. And as you probably know, the airlines were all shut down across the European zone in the UK for at least a week, if not 2 weeks.
Yeah, you went into scramble mode and you managed to get everyone home. What can you remember from that time?
Well, there's one memory, and I know, Peter, you were across at our facility at the time. Like, we had a number of editors from many publications as well. But I remember distinctively, and I know there was different scenarios, flights were cancelled and, you're struggling to get hotel rooms for people to stay in. But I remember we had a lot of people across from mainland Europe. And what I distinctly remember, outside our local hotel, the Hillgrove, we organised a coach. And I remember personally getting on the coach with a map of Europe, not just talking to the coach driver, but to the people that had travelled over to Ireland to Combilift, showing them a map and saying, well, this coach is going to go from Monaghan to Dublin. It's going to get a ferry across to Holyhead. Then it's going to go down to Dover. you're going to get into France and the bus is going to go as far as a main train station in Brussels, which it did do. But along the way, we dropped off different editors and publications. But for me, I can distinctly remember getting on that bus as if it was, and I don't mean a war zone, but you're getting on with a map. This is your route, as if you've no other way to get there. And reality is there was very little other routes to get home for people. And I have to say, most people, we organise, at least the people that were in mainland Europe, that they'd still got back home within days rather than being stranded for weeks.
It shows that Combilift can do logistics.
Well, I was going to say, it definitely really got us into the logistics industry and overall.
Definitely. So the business has changed and developed over the years. What are the areas, the customer areas that you've moved into where you've been particularly effective? Where have you seen the growth coming from?
So if we look at the UK market, it's our home market, and it's, it accounts for more than 20% of our business. So it's a big market opportunity. So the multi-directional truck is so well known in builders, merchants, manufacturing, extrusion plants. But since we entered the narrow aisle warehousing market with the Aisle-master, and I remember it where we originally, we had a number of customers in the UK, but I think it was around 2000 and maybe 11 or 12, we were at IMEX, and we really brought home the range of Aisle-master articulated range we have. And the Aisle-master now is our biggest product selling model in the UK market. And very much a lot of that's driven in terms of the space we're bringing. But not only that, it's a product that's built to last. And I think that's one key, that customers nowadays, they want value for money. I know cost is important, but value for money comes in many areas. It becomes reliability and also residual value. Because if we look at the UK market in particular, it's very much a rental market where our customers invest, where maybe they don't purchase outright, they lease the vehicle over a period, including maintenance. But when you go to a finance house and you finance over 60 months, it's not just the cost of the vehicle, it's what's the residual value. And for Combilift, we've built a brand where the aftermarket value of a used Aisle-master is worth at least 30 to 40% that of a new piece of equipment. And that's been proven time and time again. So in terms of the real value, even an Aisle-master might cost X. In reality, for that 5 years, it's only like 60% of X. It's costing our customers. And for us, that has enabled us to grow in the UK. But I suppose one of the other areas we've seen tremendous growth in the UK is in the range of pedestrian forklift trucks. So we've developed now a range of pedestrian equipment where we have a unique tiller arm to work in very small area. And what we find is customer safety is key in any business, particularly in the UK. And that safety focus is, if you can remove a sit-down forklift and you can use a pedestrian forklift to do that task, it's something that customers should consider, not just for the benefit of Combilift, but for their business. Because when an operator's operating a pedestrian piece of equipment, they have 360-degree visibility where they're going. They're working in the vicinity of other employees or customers, so they operate it much safer. And we see tremendous growth in that area. And I suppose, if you look at different nuggets of growth, for Combilift, we focus on a lot of niche areas. But one of the areas, and it's more into big product, is data centres. Data centres, there's a tremendous growth worldwide with the building of data centers, because we're all creating more data every day. We're storing more video content. And where's all this going to be stored? And I suppose for Combilift, not only do our multi-directional trucks go into the manufacturing of data centers, but our straddle carriers are big products to move heavy units around like containers. These data centers, they're the size of containers. And in fact, if I name one of our customers, Tesla, that manufacture a battery storage units. So they manufacture, it's this term BSS, so it's battery storage boxes. These battery storage boxes weigh more than 30 ton, because every time you build a data center, it needs backup power, and backup power entails battery storage as well. So it's not just building the data centers, the battery storage. And for us, we see tremendous growth, not just in the UK, but across nearly every market. This data centers growing like, I would use the term like growing like mushrooms.
Yeah, it feels like you've moved a long way forward from the, sort of, I don't mean to be disparaging about it, but, hanging around in builders' yards.
In builders, yeah, it's true. And we shouldn't dismiss, builders' yards is still an important part of our business, but we're right close to what I would call that new infrastructure, this digital world we're all living in, but storing this digital data is key. And for us, Combilift, we've developed products to handle that product more efficiently as well.
But then the core product, the core Combilift product is still the long load multi-directional carrier.
Yeah, but if you're in our factory today, you will see we have 4 production lanes. Our multi-directional piece of equipment goes down at least 2 of these production lanes. The Aisle accounts for probably close to 25% of our business, so the articulated business. And then these specialised products like the straddle carrier, the pedestrian trucks. So for us, Combilift, our growth is coming from adding new products to the range and, of course, improving our existing product offering. And of course, the support from our dealer network, creating that brand awareness. Because when you develop solution products, not every customer knows the solution exists. So it takes publications like yourselves to get that brand out there. The opportunity to speak to yourself today, Peter, is an opportunity to make people more aware of what Combilift do and the value we bring. And when you think of any business out there, generations change. You have new buyers, you have new procurement people coming into organisations. What people need to be educated on. I suppose for us, we continue to do trade shows like IMAX and many trade shows around the world to continue to inform customers of what we bring to market.
Another bit of colour, Martin. Over the years, when I talk about Combilift with industry peers, with editors, they always reference dancing forklift trucks. You've put on some very vivid demonstrations of the capabilities of your trucks, which have been handled by very talented operators who I understand are part of the dynasty, shall we say. Tell us a little bit about the idea of the dancing forklift trucks and the reaction you've had to them.
Yeah, and I suppose just if you take Combilift, the backbone of our business did start with multi-directional trucks, as you rightly say. But when we introduced the Combi CB model, which is very like a regular forklift truck, it's multi-directional, we said to ourselves, how are we going to demonstrate to the world what is really unique about this? Because when you look at a Combi CB from a distance, it looks like a short regular forklift truck, but it's the manoeuvrability what brings the tremendous value to our customer. And we actually done our own choreography as such. And I remember when we brought out the Combi CB, I think it was in 2006, 2007. So that proves that model has been in the market now for 20 years.
Yeah, I would have seen that at CMAT.
It would have been exactly. And when we brought that product to market, it was 2 of Roberts' sons, Sam Moffat and Josh Moffat, would have been one of the first to actually do them dancing CBs together. And one of the things, I suppose, as we all know, picture speaks, 1,000 words, but when you can put into video content, it brings it much more. And I suppose the dancing forklifts really, at least it created the awareness of what these products really do for our customers in terms of manoeuvrability. Now, the only thing is, it's not every trade show we can find space for that.
Sure.
But for us, the functionality and the video content, like we have our own videographer in-house. And even if you take the gold Combilift that we've up for raffle at this stage, we actually have a video content of that product actually going down our production lane so people can see firsthand that actually being built and gone into operation.
Sam and Josh are very accomplished behind the wheel elsewhere as well, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. Sam and Josh, and as you rightly allude to, Peter, very much like their father, Robert, very much not Formula One, should I say, but in terms of cross country and rally driving has been the backbone. And they're still not just talented, but they lead their way on the Irish front in terms of rallying even today, so which is great.
It's wonderful to see. So we're reaching the end of 2025. What kind of year have you had? And, what are your ambitions for beyond here? I have to say, before you answer that, I thought by now you would have had a lot more grey hair than you actually do. You're looking absolutely fine.
It must be the shops I go to. But no, for us, 2025 has been an exceptional year. If I just use, for example, in the UK market alone, we have experienced 11% growth year on year. So even though there's a lot of uncertainty out there in the world market and in the UK as well, but for Combilift as a business, we've grown 11% this year. We're continuing to invest to grow in the UK market and across multiple markets. And I suppose some of the growth areas for us is in developing countries such as India, tremendous growth, Brazil. So we're targeting a lot of multiple markets out there. And for us, uncertainty, no one likes it. But when there's uncertainty, people want to save costs. And the reality is we're in a world where people do want to manage their costs. So utilising their space is a major trigger. And the more people are focused on optimising their space, it adds real value to our business and continues us to grow and bring value to our customers. And I suppose we've continued to grow our in-house team of warehouse consultants. So free of charge, we offer free warehouse design service to any potential customers with no obligation. And that consultancy service can actually demonstrate black and white the value our product can bring to our customer base.
Well, Martin, it's been a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Logistics Business Conversations. And thanks also to you, the listener, for joining us today. Wherever you get your podcasts from, please subscribe to Logistics Business Conversations to make sure the next edition is delivered straight to you as soon as it's released. Until then, it's goodbye from Martin McVicar.
Thank you very much, Peter. Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me, Peter MacLeod. Goodbye.